Friends, viewers, knife people, welcome back to KnifeAQ number 168, the series where we answer all your knife questions, whether they are sharp or dull. Today, David is out.
Does that mean he's not coming on then?
Say hello to Thomas. Of course, you know him from the voice behind the camera.
And the text that I put right there.
This is what he looks like. This is definitely not his first appearance on camera. Those of you who've been watching will know. But it's a good chance for him to offer his input.
Well, since there's a vacancy.
Yeah. We are filling David's slightly
Larger than average presence.
larger than average presence. Thank you, Thomas.
By hands, yes. So, while he's out, we got some knives here. You got some questions.
Yeah.
Let's answer them.
Let's jump into it. The first one is from It Is What It Is Brother, who asks, question from a noob digging into the knife world. Welcome. Are knives actually collectible in the sense that there's a legitimate potential profit to be had down the road if you purchase the right knife for your collection? Or is it more of a hobbyist activity? I want to make sure I'm approaching future purchases with the right mindset, especially when purchasing knives of higher value. Should I stick to my personal preferences only, or are there other considerations I should make? This was a very thought-provoking question.
Yeah. It made me think of those guys who collect cars as investments. Mm-hmm. It's a rich man's game.
Yeah, much higher buy-in, so to speak.
I mean, I bought a truck, and I could probably turn it around for a profit. It's gone up in value, but probably not if I consider the insurance,
right,
the mileage I put on it, the repairs it needed, and after that, I got to buy a new truck. So,
like cars, there's a lot more to think about here than just money in, money out type of thinking. First of all, I think I would caution against getting too far down into this thinking that you'll be able to make money by collecting knives. The only way to reliably make money selling knives is to become a dealer. KnifeCenter, of course, is a great example of this. Yeah. We have a lot more expenses than your average collector. We have inventory, we pay salaries.
You get a salary?
Hopefully. Every 2 weeks, I'm still surprised. But it is very rare. I wanted to say this right up front. It's very rare to buy a knife at retail and be able to resell it for a profit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing that, it's an expensive hobby that occasionally pays for itself. I'd say.
Yeah.
Granted, there are some things that have gone up in value.
Yeah, true. I pulled this one out of the exclusives library. Out of all the exclusives we've done, only a handful have become so collectible and desired that you now would pay more on the aftermarket than you would have to buy it direct from us. This is one of them. This is the Spyderco Shaman with S90V steel and burlap micarta handles. It goes to show if you have the right kind of configuration of materials on the right knife at the right time, there's going to be enough people who want it who are willing to pay more for it down the line. It becomes collectible. Yeah. But this is the exception rather than the rule. And I think, especially if you're a knife noob, it's going to be really, really hard to identify which knives are actually going to increase in value.
Which I suspect is why he asked that question.
Yeah.
As a knife noob.
Even a lot of the things that are marketed as collectibles, like the limited runs, the special stamped editions, they're collectible, yes, but they don't necessarily go up in value.
That's fair to say.
Yeah. One brand I will say that has a pretty reliable track record for increasing in value, or at least retaining its value.
Holding value.
Yeah. That's Chris Reeve Knives. This right here is kind of the benchmark, the small Sebenza 31. We rarely have these in stock. They are on the site now at the moment. These feature MagnaCut steel, titanium handles, the original frame lock folder, and these now retail for $425.
And it's probably the history of the genesis of the frame log probably adds to that value as well. You know, just that historical connection.
Yeah, these have a legacy of continued, reliable, high-quality build and support. When you buy a Sebenza, you're paying for any sort of future repairs down the road, they're going to have you covered. Parts availability, they've changed so little over the years, they can still repair knives that they've made 30 years ago. So, you know.
Which is a different kind of investment, really.
Yeah. Occasionally, you will be able to get one of these that does go up in value. Josh, our substitute cameraman.
He's Temporary Thomas over there.
Temporary Thomas is a big Chris Reeve fan, and he has a knife in his collection that he was telling us has gone up in value quite a bit. This is the Moon Landing. Is that what they call it, Josh?
Lunar Landing.
The Lunar Landing, thank you. These are now discontinued and have shot up in value. You know, Josh paid retail for this. I think the last price on eBay or one of the secondary sites is almost double retail. So if he wanted to, he could sell this and make some money. I don't think he ever would.
Nope.
No. This lives on his desk very proudly. I mean, it's a beautiful knife. I can see why. But
and these aren't guarantees.
No.
And all investment carries risk, really.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
And calling knives investments, I think, generally is the wrong attitude to take. But the reason why we're addressing it here is that it would be dishonest to say that it's not like a part of the conversation. It's very satisfying to get something and feel like you made the right choice, to feel like your money was well spent, to feel like you even made money, at least on paper, with a purchase like this, and to still have a knife that you can use and enjoy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and having value at the end of it, really, that's something you and David have done, is sell parts of your collection to pay for new knives and keep that hobby going. Really.
Yeah, the churn. I'm no stranger to the churn. You want new knives.
It baffled me for a while. Like, why do you always have new knives? Oh, he keeps selling them.
Yeah. Well, I can't keep them all, and nor do I want to. I like to learn things from new knives. I like knives that teach me something, and sometimes, what I learn from a knife is learned in a couple weeks, and then I realize it's not for me long term, and hopefully it finds a happy home.
Well, by contrast, I never sold a knife.
Yeah,
I've
very different
acquired,
approach to collecting over here.
I've acquired things. They just don't go anywhere except my pocket.
Yeah.
For the longest time, this was the first real EDC I purchased, a ZT55. By the time I was buying this was already discontinued.
Yeah.
So we were just moving them out, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And nothing else had that two-stage flipper tab that I really like. Like, that's very fidgety. I find that
it's really
so
unique.
Satisfying.
It's just now that and that doesn't really exist anymore in a production way.
No, this design does kind of live on
a little bit.
In the Wee Knife Company Solid.
Yes.
Same designer, Gus Genie. I got that name wrong, I guarantee you.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
They forgive us.
I've acquired other things, like the Bug Out I always carry.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of our exclusives. Speaking of exclusive there, the Battle Wash finish. You can't get these anymore.
Yep.
This might have gone up in value. I never checked.
I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah, but this is my steak knife now.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of those for sale. That could be one thing kind of driving the collectability. A lot of really great knives don't hit the market because people keep and use them.
Yeah.
So, it's more helpful to think of value in that way, as like Thomas does. It's something that, I mean, geez, you carry these knives literally every day.
Every day, yeah. The ZT's taken a little back seat because I did buy a Pocket Tango.
Nice.
And then opposite side, a Paratube.
Sweet. And that's about it, right? You can practically carry your collection in your pockets.
Yeah, Leatherman notwithstanding, but that's just a default.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just a consequence of working here. I acquire knives. I did contribute to the Knife Rights raffle a few years ago. And in early bird drawing, I did win a BRS replicant.
Nice.
So that was, I wouldn't have otherwise gotten this.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a frivolous expense for me. but it was cool to find out how well a butterfly can do as an EDC.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I don't even know where the knives came from. This is, as far as I can determine, it is a Brasletto troll knife. And then I couldn't tell you who gave it to me. I was probably 8 years old. Nice. Someone was just like, you look like you need a knife. And you know what? It's okay.
Yeah. So your collection, if we can, call it that, is not driven at all by resale value.
No, it's entirely their, what do we determine, their actual value as opposed to their market value?
Yeah, the value of what you get from them.
Yeah. The ZT was a great bruiser, so was the BRS to a degree. The bug out is the EDC slicer. Mm-hmm. And then there's my classic fixed blade.
The original pocket fixed blade.
The original pocket fixed blade I carried for years bartending, and it'll take a beating.
Indestructible.
Indestructible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so to this commenter, I guess I would say it's worth thinking about, but don't let it drive your purchasing decisions.
I mean, if you want to get into the hobby, get into the hobby.
Yeah. Go with your heart. That's never bad advice, right?
No, I hope that helped.
Yeah, hope that helped. All right, the second question is from J-Man Stuff, who asks, fun question, what are some of the market gaps you're aware of based on consumer demand you've seen in the comments and questions on YouTube and elsewhere, and or from people you know?
Kind of gets to the heart of our exclusives program.
Yes, very much so. The main driver of our exclusives program is you. We make them based on what we think you guys would like. Sometimes we see a little bit of ahead. We see a trend coming. We see, we love to take knives that are good and make them great whenever possible. Mm-hmm.
And you and David do a lot of back and forth on that. Like there's like serious consideration that goes into all of this, and then communicating with the manufacturers to kind of dial in what's feasible, what's marketable.
Yeah.
And sometimes you end up with something like the Badlands Vagabond.
Yeah.
We did that in S35 with the white FRN scales, or white synthetic scales, I should say. I don't recall exactly what what it was, but the white scales kind of, as that market fill, the customizability. This started out white, and we made it into candy corn.
Yeah. We were thinking, like, what's a fun way we could get encourage people to customize their knives. We were seeing a lot of you do it. We were seeing accessory companies popping up, offering ways to customize your knife. Well, what if we made a knife that was just a blank canvas for everyone to play with? So we went with white on these.
You know who really makes out in the art scene? Art supply stores.
The old gold rush philosophy.
Yeah, who sold shovels?
Yep. And the other thing we did with this is we wanted an affordable option with a great steel. These days there are a few more of them. S35, S30V for really low steels.
We had a whole video on S35 under 100.
Yeah.
I'll put it there.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, future Thomas, editor. But with this one, we thought, let's take this VV Badlands Vagabond, which had great bones, right? Great design, comfortable, lightweight, deft, great action. Whether you liked a flipper or a thumb stud, it worked either way. And let's put awesome blade steel on it without making it too expensive. These are now just $69.95, and you get a lot.
It's on sale right now, and I think they're limited quantities right now. So.
Yeah. This is the one run of them. They will not be back, but it's a great deal while they lasted, and a great package for someone looking for good steel, good design that doesn't break the bank. Yeah, we tried to hit that mark. We saw a little bit of a void that needed filling, and tried to do it with the Badlands Vagabond. And that's also maybe even more true of the next two designs, actually. This is the Boker Modern Barlow. We worked with Boker for a long time on this, because this is not just an exclusive like KnifeCenter version. This is a whole new product developed just for us by Boker and with Boker. This was when we started this project. It was just at the beginning of when modernized traditionals were coming into fashion. It seemed like such a cool, untapped idea to us. Like, there's this amazing heritage of slip joints and heritage designs that, you know, are just waiting to be modernized, that would love to find modern audiences.
Jack Wolf knives are a prime example there.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely hit that sort of niche pretty hard and does an excellent job. But this one's a fair bit more affordable. These come in at $69.95, same price as the Civivi there. And they have an even more upgraded blade steel. This is 20 CV on this little guy. It doesn't have a lock. These are a so-called flip joint. But, you know, we felt that was kind of authentic to the original Barlow, slip joint, non-locking. But it's got a flipper. So you've got more protection for your fingers. Keeps it from closing if you, put some pressure on that. Can flip it closed. And a pocket clip. So on paper, it's got all of the features that people really want and shop for. Pocket clip, one-hand opening. But the silhouette of a beautiful knife from the past that still works great today.
That classic shape.
Yeah. And the next one we brought back kind of as a love letter, in a way, to this design. I think to a lot of knife buyers who got their start back when internet knife buying was relatively new, the Kershaw Skyline represented one of the best options at the time. You know, it was from a great brand, a reliable name. Kershaw, been making great knives forever, but the Skyline offered at the time, a very cool and new flipper opening. And it had a couple of unique features that just gave it a character that people really liked. It had just a single liner to keep the total build relatively lightweight. But the Kershaw Skyline was long discontinued.
I guess in a way, this was just filling a gap that it used to fill before.
Yeah, we wanted to bring it back. We missed it. We thought maybe we weren't the only knife people who had fond memories of this and would like to see it upgraded and done justice.
And we were kind of right.
Yeah. These are even better than the original in a lot of ways. You know, some can argue about the blade steel. These feature D2 instead of the original 14C28N. D2 is going to have better edge retention.
Yeah, I mean, D2 for $40, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. For $40, which is actually cheaper than the original, the new Kershaw Mini Skyline has the same form, a little smaller, but upgraded. The flipping action is way better on these. You know, the flippers come a long way since the original Skyline hit the market, and these flip so well. For $40, you know, ball bearings in the pivot, Kershaw, D2, deep carry pocket clip, tip up. We brought the Skyline back with features that people ask for these days. So
just another modernized classic.
Yeah. Just not quite as far back as that Boker Barlow.
Yeah.
Next up is a question from Mike Loeffler, who asks, "Hey David." Who's David?
He's not here.
"I love the channel. I am looking to buy my mother a all-around kitchen knife. What do you suggest for under $100? Keep up the good work."
Good question.
Yeah, great question. I think Thomas and I are both going to kind of take a stab at an answer. Why don't you go ahead?
So I judge my most used knife by how often I wash it. It's at home, but this is basically what I have. The Wusthof Classic is the Asian utility knife, 4.5 inch, of the classic line. Really, this has been my everything. I can prep my whole meal with it. It's a decent little chopper, slicer. I can pair with it. It's small.
It's smaller than the typical chef's knife.
Typical chef's knife, which we'll see in a second. Mm-hmm. And I do have a full-size chef's knife. I've got a 6-inch chef's knife. I never use the 8-inch because it's a little too big for a modern, well, my kitchen at least. But this is great for the little jobs, making a sandwich.
Yeah, the stuff you're doing more often than prepping a big meal.
Yeah. So that's my most useful knife in the kitchen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those kind of in-betweener knives are super underrated. They really are enough to get a whole meal done. They're easy to clean, they're easy to work with, they're approachable, they're not too long. And they replace a paring knife too, so.
Yeah, and this was $70.
Yeah, right now, $69.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in your price bracket.
As for my answer, I looked at a lot of knives, but in the end, I kind of settled on one that I have personal experience with, so I'm confident recommending it. It is a classic at this point, the Victorinox 8-inch chef's knife. These have been around forever, they're proven. The versions with plastic handles are, you'll see them in commercial kitchens all the time. If the professionals swear by them, I think there's something there. But I did pick the rosewood handle because I think
it's a little classier.
A little classier. It makes a better gift. This is $87 right now. And, it's just a well-balanced 8-inch chef knife. If you want that classic form factor for the kitchen knife, this blade shape is right on the money. It's not over large to get in the way of slicing, but it's robust enough to last for a long time, even if you have to, use it against some tricky joints or something that require a little more force. The edge is not as thin as a Japanese style knife, but the edge is still really well formed. So it's going to be easy to sharpen. This was my primary kitchen knife, well, one of the Fibrox versions, for years and years and years, and I personally give them away a lot. So, I guess I recommend it personally.
So it's two options depending on how big your mom's kitchen is.
Yeah, exactly. Next up is a question from the him 2990. Hey DCA, this might be a little controversial, but I like to carry my knives tip down. What knives are best for carrying this way? Love the show, and props to Thomas.
Hey.
Well, this really, I know you said DCA, but this is kind of a question for me.
It is.
Because I am with you sometimes.
You are kind of preaching that gospel there.
Yeah, I have been known to stick my neck out for tip down carry, and it's time to do that again. Why would you want to carry a knife tip down? And which knives are good to carry tip down? Let's go for the first one, because there's no denying that the dominant style of carrying knives these days is tip up. Tip up won the beta VHS battle at some point in the last 20 years. And tip down is now, I don't know, kind of old fashioned in a way. Yeah. But there are still good reasons to do it, and there's still great knives that have it. One reason to do it, I think, is if a knife is quite large. So this is the Spyderco Native Chief. It is definitely a big knife with just over 4 inches of blade. It's got BD1N steel. This is a new version with black-coated blade, partially serrated edge. So it comes out of the box, set up for tip up, which is fine. But I think on a knife this big, tip down, there's a genuinely kind of rational reason to flip it for tip down, which is that out of your pocket, you're a lot closer to that opening mechanism. So in the tip up position, depending on how you're able to grab it, if all you can get is 2 fingers on it, pull that out of your pocket, that's a long way to shimmy up there before you can get to that hole to open it. However, if it's tipped down, you pull it out of your pocket, all you have to do is, pivot it into your hand. It's closer, it's easier. And on a knife this big, even if you kind of reach into the pocket and try your best to get your hand around it before it comes out, you're still a decent ways from that opening hole. So I think on a big knife, tip down can make sense.
It's kind of a moot point if you got an Emerson, though.
True. Yeah, the wave's not going to work tip down. No. But here's a knife where it's the only option, and I think is worth a shot, even for you folks who have written off tip down carry. This is the Microtech SOCOM. This is a sweet knife. A knife so nice, I bought it twice.
It's always buying knives.
Yeah. What can I say? When a knife is really good, I think it's worth getting twice. I don't know. That's just me. This version has M390 steel, partially serrated edge, and it only comes tip down, once you get used to it, it just makes sense. Pull it out of the pocket, your thumb's right there to flick it open, and it's got those oversized thumb studs, so you practically can't even miss. This knife is very, very satisfying to carry and use, and the shape of the handle, I actually prefer this to the Bravo SOCOM, which is a tip-up version. I find that that knife doesn't carry as well as the tip-down version. The skinniness of the handle back here, there's not a lot of real estate to mount a clip, and the Bravo version, in my opinion, kind of suffers a little bit from that. It's harder to get out of the pocket. It's harder to, manipulate your way up to get there. Maybe I'm just used to it, but I think the SOCOM rocks in tip down and just makes sense that way. So to answer your question, big knives for tip down carry and Microtech SOCOM. It's made to be carried that way.
Hope that helps. I just get to say that all the time now. All right, I believe we had a wedding question.
Yes, a wedding question.
Not like we planned these ahead of time.
From Sandra_Fries_Nyberg. Hi, DCA and Thomas.
Hey.
I'm going to my sister's wedding at the end of June this year and want to acquire a knife that fits the occasion. I was thinking something along the lines of a gentleman/CEO knife. However, I live in a European country where knives are, to a degree, frowned upon. So it has to be inconspicuous and non-scary. Blade length at or under 3 inches would work well, and it would be preferable if it's without large, bold markings/branding. Deep carry pocket clip would be nice, but not necessary. I'm open to more traditional and non-locking folders. Budget is $200. Okay, so this is another one where Thomas and I kind of split the question. We each have our own take, but we arrived at very similar answers.
Yeah, because we're thinking Europe, for the most part, non-locking.
Yeah.
So we immediately filter slip joints on the old website. Blade length 2 to 3 inches, and then under 200. First came up was probably the tactile knife company Bayer. Bayer County is what they are.
Texans will tell you how to pronounce it.
Texans will tell you.
Yeah.
Kind of like people in Massachusetts saying Worcester.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So MagnaCut steel, titanium handles, and entirely non-locking. Made in the United States, so we bring a little bit of freedom over to Europe. They have some freedom over there. I don't want to disparage them too much, but spread the culture, as it were. Nice and thin, no pocket clip, because as we're getting into slip joints, pocket clips become a little tougher to justify in a design.
Harder to find too. There aren't a ton of options with pocket clip.
And the ones that aren't terribly gentlemanly.
True.
Yeah.
It detracts from the dressiness of the knife.
This is kind of a stateliness, but I believe these come with pocket slips.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bury it right in your pocket, and then you got a classy piece to pull out when a knife is needed.
Yeah, that's a cool choice. Those are $199. MagnaCut steel, I think you said. So ultra thin. That's going to slip no problem into dress slacks, whatever you're wearing at the wedding. A cool option for sure, with a bit of American-made swagger.
Yeah.
Here's one of my picks. This is the James brand Wayland. Like Thomas was saying, I mean, I tended towards slip joints. I'm not comfortable recommending a locking knife for carrying in Europe because I'm not knowledgeable or confident in the knife laws there. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, And the other thing is, for a wedding, I think a slip joint in the pocket is the way to go. That's what I've carried at weddings.
A little more polite society.
There's something almost ceremonial about carrying a knife that way that just suits a wedding, I think.
In a suit.
Yeah, suits the suit just fine. And this Wayland is right there for it. This has a 3-inch blade of S35 VN steel, a price of $197. It's actually on sale right now. And a couple of wood handle options available. This one is Sycamore. Like the Bayer, good action. This one is maybe even a little bit more of a modern take, the way that they've done the ambidextrous nail nick there. Very cool, kind of matte finished interior, very grippy, easy to open. And you've got the James brand branding in the bolster. Kind of a little bit of a Barlow thing going on here, but still singing its own song a little bit too. I like this knife a lot. The sheepsfoot blade is a great choice for, well-controlled cuts with the tip. This would be a great option for, I don't know, opening wedding gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might as well have something a little classy when the utility is called for.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to personalize it, you could even attach a lanyard there. Very cool option from the James brand.
Well, similarly, I figured it was, you're in Europe, you might as well see about the European offerings.
Mm-hmm.
So we hit Viper kind of hard. I went a little longer than 3 inches. Fun story though, I realized that my index finger, from that crease to the fingertip, that's 3 inches.
Ha!
So I can just kind of...
You can eyeball it.
Where is it for... that?
Yeah, and that one's just over 3.1 inches.
Yep, 3 1/8, which, almost bug out size.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great size.
Yeah. This is the Hug from Viper. I kind of landed on this, we're again, slip joint, but we got this kind of antique bronze look to it, the darkened blade, so we're going subtle, like a dark suit wedding, maybe more polite than a mafia wedding, I guess. They'll have stilettos, they'll be fine, but,
Well, and this still has like celebration all over the handle.
Yes, I mean, we've got this burst, like a little firework in your pocket, without the saltpeter, I guess.
Yeah.
Still excellent, snappy action. This also comes with the leather pocket slip. It'll land nice and discreet in your pocket until time comes to slip it out. And it's a presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hug, that one in particular, it really pops. Looks amazing. M390 steel, $155. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah, Viper slip joints are really well made, which is why I also landed on a Viper slip joint. Although I stuck more strictly to the 3-inch blade limit with this Viper Twin. So this is $174, and also with M390 steel. I guess actually technically, according to the stats, this is just over 3 inches, but 3.03, we're rounding down. I'm going to give it to me.
If someone's going to give you grief about the blade length limits, they're at a wedding.
Yeah.
Don't hassle wedding guests.
On the day of my daughter's wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That always ends well.
The Twin is a smaller version of the one-handed operable backlock version of this design. I quite like the ergonomics of it. It's a little more locked in than your traditional slip joint designs with the kind of curvature to the handle and the finger scallops. But still, especially in this kind of white and gray tuxedo pattern, has a dressiness to it. Beautiful, polished, crowned spine and back spring. Nice, snappy action with a half stop. It just looks every bit as traditional as it feels with the nail nick, polished blade, a beautiful knife for a beautiful day.
Yeah, and bring your handkerchief so you can clean the fingerprints off.
Yeah, definitely. Those polished blades will collect them.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple from Italy. I got another one from Italy. The Lion Steel JK1, the Jack JK1, I should say. JK3. My mistake. So
3 because it has three
because
tools.
we have 3 tools. So we got that clip point blade, we got this combo screwdriver and bottle opener, and the other bottle opener as I fight the back spring, this corkscrew. So this just becomes the party tool. You're just suddenly more popular.
Yeah. Also, you could carry this around not just at the wedding. Like, you're going to get a lot more utility out of the opener and the little screwdriver tip on that thing.
Yeah.
A great easy carry for, all your travels around Europe.
So, think of this as an upscaled party Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made in Italy. M390 steel. We got this various handle materials, but I went with that nice classy wood. I think that's going to go over very well with the party guests. And just over that 3-inch blade.
Nice.
Should just have my finger as a ruler from now on. So hope that helps. enjoy the wedding.
Next is a question from Duncan Fife, who asks, why is the reversed Tanto blade shape used so frequently? Maybe I'm splitting hairs, but the use of reverse Tanto seems to miss the edge geometry of the Tanto with two differently angled edges. Thanks.
So
This is one for Thomas.
I kind of dropped the ball on this. I didn't get an actual Tanto in here, so let's hold one up upside down here. They're talking about the two edges you'd have at the main edge and at the tip with a more straight back. Granted, I'll come clean since David's not here. I don't know if you noticed, he's not here today.
David's away, so the kids will play.
Yeah, so these are pretty much lamb's foot, sheep's foot, Warncliffs.
I can't believe you admitted that on camera.
Yeah, so for the most part, we see a Malibu back there. Hey, you know what? There's another one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just everywhere. They're very useful. I'm a big fan of it, partly because it annoys David. And it kind of traces its origin back to the Benjamin Osborne.
Yeah.
Started that category of the reverse Tanto. Arguably, it's a spay blade.
Yeah. We can't always control which names catch on and find common use. Perhaps in another universe, we're calling these all spay blades or something else. But
I think if anything's a reverse Tanto, it's probably my ZT55.
Yeah.
Because we have two cutting edges.
Yeah. Yeah, it carries a little bit more of the original Tanto mission into the reversed
robust
frame.
Discontinued, unfortunately, but the Wee Knife Company Solid is an option if you want that shape.
Yeah.
I bet you that didn't help.
Yeah, this is one that doesn't make sense, and we're just trying to do our best to live in that world,
Yeah. They still cut good.
Yeah, they cut good. It's a great blade shape. It works great. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. The name is descriptive of the shape of the spine instead of the shape of the edge. Just how it is.
Yeah.
Next up is a question from Pug Chronicles 1374, who asks, I've read somewhere that the so-called Damascus steel markings on the blades are done by lasers. Don't know if that's the case or not, but seems probable because you see no layers when looking down on the spine of the knives.
So I wouldn't put it past some cheaper marks to do a fake Damascus. Wherever possible, we're going to find out what the composition of the Damascus is, but that's, folded layers of different steel compositions, and where you get that pattern, that visible pattern, is an acid etch process, and that'll show up on just about everything, except the edge once it's ground away, because these markings are surface deep.
Yes.
That's all they are. Case in point, this Cancept Fenrir, which I just happen to have. This is another one that just appeared in my collection.
One of the ones you've accumulated, not collected?
I don't know. These things just land. If you look on the back, and I'll have some close-ups for you, there's not any pattern perceptible on the spine. That doesn't make me think it's fake Damascus.
Yeah, it's certainly not. There's a couple of tells.
I've got some other clues. First off, we know Cancept, they typically run, if I recall correctly, a 9CR 440C Damascus base. But we can see this pattern kind of follows the contours of the grinds.
Yeah.
That's going to naturally happen because think of it like a topographical map.
Yes, good metaphor.
Yep. And the other thing to look for, I've never seen a Damascus knife that had the same identical pattern on each side.
Yeah, that's a real dead giveaway.
Yeah.
A laser etched Damascus is just going to copy the same pattern on both sides.
They know the pattern.
Yeah.
Or they'll be the same pattern on every single knife.
Yeah. Well, let me be clear here, because maybe from the distance to camera, it looks like it's the same pattern.
It's very subtle differences, but they're there.
Yeah, it's well-made Damascus, so it's going to be consistent. Mm-hmm. But if you really go back and forth, you'll see that, on one side it goes in, where then the other side it goes out. It's a natural material, so you're going to find variations when you start looking
If you take the two images and you reverse one of them, lay them on top of each other, there'll be like a little jitter between the two.
Yeah. But because the pattern in Damascus is only revealed by an acid etch, it's not rare or wrong to see maybe parts of the blade where the pattern is a little more hidden. Like the edge, you're not going to see it. The spine,
it's
if
ground
it's been
away.
treated.
On the ground, on the edge, it's been ground away.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on how it's made, but, you know, you will be able to see a laser etch for what it is.
Sometimes you'll see a little texture from that laser edge too.
Yeah.
Laser etch, I should say.
Yeah, so there are fakers out there. You won't find them for sale at the KnifeCenter, but they are out there.
Yeah.
All the Damascus...
If it is, we'll call it out.
Yeah.
I haven't found any on the site though.
No, it's not... I mean...
Yeah. If we're selling you Damascus, we want it to be a Damascus.
Yeah, definitely. That's what's cool
not
about
that it's
Damascus.
real Damascus, not the original. I get it.
You've read too many YouTube comments.
I read all the comments.
Okay, let's move to the next question. The next question is from Rich Brown 5539, who asks, question, what do knife enthusiasts and collectors do with all the stickers that come with their knives? It is difficult enough to explain to someone why I would have so many pocket knives. How do I explain a grown man with a book of stickers?
Don't show anyone.
That's one way to go. Yeah. Mine, I guess, tend to collect dust in the packages they arrived in, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, so part of my job, I open a lot of boxes of knives, so a lot of them come with stickers. Some of them come with patches. So I get it. It's a concern. You know, what do you do with them all? Some of them, if they're bumper sticker quality, nothing wrong with a bumper sticker. Like there's several vehicles in our parking lot that have a number of knife manufacturers' bumper stickers on them. I don't. I'm not big on bumper stickers.
Yeah, I don't have anything against stickers, but I have a sort of superstition because I used to put stickers all over my water bottle. Here's the one I have today. It's a great place to put stickers.
Yeah, that's why you know it's yours.
Exactly, it makes sense. But every time I put a sticker on my water bottle, I lose it within the week. It happened like 4 times back to back, and that was it for me in stickers. So
let's get you a Sharpie, write your name on.
Yeah. I've had that one now for months. I still have my unmolested water bottle with no stickers for years.
Well, like I said, I'm not a big fan of bumper stickers, but kegerators and coolers, fair game.
Yeah.
Coolers are a great place to put your stickers on because you're in an event where there's lots of coolers, you know which one's yours.
Yep. Good way to tell your stuff apart.
Yep.
You know what? We also have a nice collection around the office of patches. A bunch of patch walls.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I ran out of space on my rifle bag, so like there's a cubicle divider by my desk that I just attach the Velcro to the felt.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question,
it's not weird.
It's not weird. Yeah. Put them wherever you feel like. Just try not to lose whatever you put them on.
Yeah.
I think we're to our most serious question.
I think we are.
All right, so for the last and most serious question of the day, from Idaho Outdoor Portal. You can only bury one knife in a climate-controlled time capsule for your great-great-great-great-grandson to find. What is it?
I think you'll start.
I'm going to go with a Randall-made knife because there's a decent chance that that's going to be a faster way to get one than actually hopping onto their waiting list.
Yeah. You just have that ready for them.
Yep.
I was thinking because we have a climate-controlled environment, I'm not worried about rust or corrosion or anything. I think maybe fill it with nitrogen.
Ooh,
a nice
there we go. Yeah.
Stable gas. I'd put a K-bar in there with a magazine from about 20 years ago. Just so I look like I'm more forward-thinking than I actually am. And he's not going to know when this came from because chances are this is how they're going to look in 40, X number of years, however many greats. 4
greats.
4 great. Yeah, all those greats. He's not going to know where this came from. This could be from Vietnam. It could be from Vietnam too.
Yeah, the K-bar will outlast us all.
Yeah.
Well, that does it, I think. We reached the end of the table.
Yeah, without David.
I can't believe. It was a little more chaotic than usual, but I think we had fun.
We did okay.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. If you want to get your hands on any of these, well, some of these are mine. I put links in the description of all these videos. They'll take you down to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're there, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program. So if you're going to buy one of these anyway, you might as well get some free money to spend on your next one. I'm Thomas, normally behind the camera.
I'm Seth V, sometimes in front of the camera.
I might see you next time. He probably will. Bye.
See ya.